In Varieties of Nationalism, my co-author Harris, Mylonas, and I are addressing several problems that we see as endemic in the study of nationalism. The first big problem is that nationalism has hugely normative connotations. And so we're seeking to de-link nationalism from its normative connotations, a lot like democracy scholars have done the same with democracy. So the scholars who look at democracy are coding democracy on the presence or absence of elections, the presence or absence of civil liberties. And we try to give a definition of nationalism that does much the same for the study of the nation. A second problem we are trying to solve is a very strong Eurocentric bias in the study of nationalism. Most of the canonical debates, save perhaps from Benedict Anderson, really focus primarily on European cases. And post-colonial cases around the world have a lot to offer in terms of understanding the modalities of their emergence and how nationalism works. Something else that we're trying to do is to de-link nationalism from the concept of ethnicity. So sometimes some nationalism scholars have said that ethnicity is central to the idea of nationalism, and other scholars don't. We address this in part by providing for a dimension of ascriptiveness, which also overcomes the civic and ethnic divide.
We're trying to provide a framework where nationalism scholars can go back to and situate their own work, but also find their scope conditions, get a better sense of where their case or cases fall in the global distribution of cases. And to do that, we are focusing on three main questions. First, does a national community exist? And that brings up two dimensions, elite fragmentation and popular fragmentation, and those two have a role to play in answering that question. The second question, how do national narratives vary? Every national community has a more or less contested national narrative, and that can vary based on what Maya already mentioned, on the basis of its ascriptiveness, and it's a spectrum of ascriptiveness. And along another dimension we call thickness, which has to do with the layers of narratives, or narrative layers as we call them, or symbolic meanings that may be encompassed in a national narrative. The final question has to do with whether nationalism matters, and that directly links to the question of salience, the dimension of salience, how salient is a national identity at any given point, at the individual or national level. We think that this is a way to both address the problems that Maya already raised, but also for the scholars of nationalism who have been talking for a while past each other to come together and see the field as one. So based on this proverbial story from the ancient Buddhist text about the blind men who are holding different parts of the elephant and not realizing how exactly an elephant looks like, we're hoping that the elephant that is nationalism becomes more legible through our framework.